Assalamu Alaikum everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So I was planning to do this video yesterday, but I had a horrible toothache, but alhamdulillah I'm feeling better now. So what I want to do today is I want to go over the portfolio. So I did the dividend side of things, so if you have not seen that video, go and watch that first. And in this video we're just going to focus on all the buys, the sells, portfolio update. I'm going to show you exactly what I've bought, what I've sold, and tell you exactly what I'm going to do moving forward, if there's any companies that I'm going to sell, if there's companies that I'm going to add, and so on. But before we do all of that, I just want to talk about a couple of things, and that's just to kind of, we've got so many mashallah brothers and sisters who have joined the community, which is absolutely amazing to see. And I just want to give you like my background kind of thing in terms of like what I have done first to when I started first investing, because a lot of you are asking questions. I've been getting a lot of emails and private messages, which is really good, and I've been responding as much as I could, inshallah, and I will continue to do that, and I hope you continue to do that as well. But I just want to give you an overview of basically how I got to this. Right, a few years ago, I think about 6 years ago, I've started kind of being interested. I've been interested in the stock market for quite some time. And every time I did a research, there was always a block. There was always something that I didn't understand or didn't know much about that stopped me. And I always loved the economy, like how the economy works and everything else, and investments and basically buying a businesses and all of these things. But I've never done much of a research in terms of just looking at individual stocks or ETFs and the breakdown of like a stock market, if you like, until I came across a book called I think it was Expat Millionaire or something like that. I can't remember now. It was a guy called Andrew Hallam. When I read his first book, I really liked it. I bought another one he also wrote called The Teacher Millionaire, I think, and that kind of changed my mentality. From there onwards, I've read so many books. After I felt comfortable and confident enough to actually say, okay, I kind of understand where to start, that's when I actually genuinely start opening my first account. That was 2020, and when just straight after the market crashed, I opened this portfolio. So the market crashed on around 13th of March, I think 2020. This portfolio started the 20th of April 2020. Since then, I've been buying individual stocks and ETFs. I don't have that many ETFs. I've only got one, but I've talked about it a lot. And I've been buying individual stocks since then. Now, if you are new completely, okay, don't take this as a financial advice, but it's just I just want to say, if you are completely and utterly new to the stock market, start looking at the ETFs. Go and watch the videos that I've talked about, where I talked about individual ETFs and so on. Don't get into individual stocks unless you really know the companies inside out. And the reason I said that is because buying a basket of 200, 300 companies is better than buying an individual company that could potentially go out of business tomorrow. It's really that simple. There's the ETFs will give you well diversified companies in there, so if one goes down, then at least basically the rest of your investment will be intact, and those companies are normally like 2-3% of the ETFs. I know the top 2-3 whatever are normally like, I don't know, these days about 10%, 20%, whatever. But majority of the weightings is like 2%, 3%. So start with that first place. If you are really genuinely interested in the stock market and you want to, start with looking at individual ETFs, then go to the stocks after that if you've got the knowledge, inshallah. So yeah, so I've been trying, my goal has been and will be inshallah for the next couple of years to max my ISA account every single year. So I'm using my ISA account here this year. So again, I might continue doing that as much as I can, and then maybe the next year move on to, but this year inshallah I'm gonna max this ISA account, and then maybe following on next year I might move it to another account and just leave this one and let it grow. I said the same thing last year, but look at me, I'm still continuing using this because I really genuinely like trading 212. Right, let's now talk about what we came here for, and that's the portfolio update. Now, before we get to that, it takes a lot of time and effort, like I've always said to you guys, to put these things together. I would genuinely appreciate if you can join us in the Patreon account, where you get access to a lot of things, of the buys, the sells, the dividend trackers, the discords, the Sharia compliant investing ebooks and so on, and it will cost you only 15p per day. Right, these are the buys and sells for the month of June. Okay, right, so we started with June, so let me start with the sales first. I've sold the PSA, which is public storage, and I sold ExxonMobil. This one has something to do with the wars going on, the genocide that's taking place right now. That is basically something to do with that. And this one is basically something to do with not being Sharia compliant in the long run. Right now, it might not be, but the business that the insurance side of things is growing, and they are emphasizing, and the CEO actually came out on the last report and emphasized the fact that they will continue to put more emphasis on the insurance side of it. So I took my money from both two companies. That was almost £8,000, and bought more companies. Now, so I bought EOG Resources, which is basically an oil company. I added to J&J. I added to Rio Tinto. I own 100 shares of Rio Tinto right now. And look at this, £336 of basically income. That's what I expect from this company moving forward. I added 5 shares of Salesforce. I really like the company. I've always said this company will one day become similar to what Microsoft has become over the last 10-15 years. Hershey company, I bought 13 more shares. I really like it. This is still undervalued. MSCI, I bought 2 shares to round it up to 20 shares. And UPS, I've been buying that regularly. And this one I've just added on holding. I just added to the portfolio just to kind of keep track on. I only bought 1 share, and I think it's down a little bit. So all of this, as you can see here, okay, it has given us £272 in dividends. Now, this what basically between these two companies, they were paying me closer to that much, which is what I'm happy with, really. So I'm happy the fact that I've taken some money and sold these two, and then actually bought companies that will pay me more or less similar sort of a dividends, inshallah, moving forward. Because remember, this is a dividend growth portfolio, and that's what I'm going to do. So 8,500 is what we spent on. Of course, I added about £600. I think it's slightly a bit more than that, but yeah, so it's slightly a little bit more than that. So normally my target is 1,000 every single month, but I haven't done that. But when you look at the overall, okay, so I've invested £2,855 right now. If you divide that by 3 for the last 3 months, basically it works out about 900. So although it's slightly lower than basically what I normally put in, on average I'm averaging basically £1,000. Now on average I should be averaging £1,666, because if you divide that basically 12 and the entire basically the 12 months that I need to max my ISA account, which is about basically £20,000, it works out £1,666. So inshallah I will do that more. I'll invest more closer to the time, especially when we get to December. I'll put a lot more money to the market, because December I found it very volatile, and now leading up to the US elections, that might change as well. I mean, the markets might change and things might come down quite a bit. So there you go. So these are all the buys and sells. Like I said to you, the reasons I've sold these companies, and I really like all of these companies, and I'm going to hold on to them and add to, especially basically these companies. This one is just a test to see, basically how volatile this stock is, and if it comes down and so on. If you haven't liked the video yet, please do it. It really genuinely helps the channel. So now I'm going to use this. Okay, I will show you on the brokerage account, but I'm going to use this now to kind of show you the companies that I own, how many shares, and the cost, the average cost, because it is quite fiddly whenever I have to go up and down just to kind of show you my average and so on. So I don't want to keep doing that, so I'm going to keep everything here. So I hope you enjoy that part. So the first 5-6 companies here are all technology companies. Okay, I like my technology companies. There's 5 of them here. Okay, Intuit, great company. I own 5 shares. My average right now is 440 and in pounds, and then this is in US, $546 basically is my average. And as you can see here, the weighting is about 2.5. Now my average, I wanted my weighting for this company to be about 3%, so it's getting there. So if it comes down right now, I think it's a very expensive stock. But let me actually quickly show you, because I was just looking at a couple of days ago in terms of earnings expectations moving forward for this company is double digits every single year. So this is why I really like the business. But when you look at the ratings, okay, as you can see, it's a buy, and you got 14 strong buys, 8 buys, 7 holds, and 1 sell, and it's about 4% flat. So it's basically kind of flat right now from where we expected it to be. So I want this company to be about 3%. I do own in this portfolio, so and family portfolio as well, just to let you know. But yeah, so I'm gonna hold on to this one for a while. I'm just gonna leave it alone. Broadcom is another one. Look at this. Check this out. Growth side of it. Have a look at that if you're interested to see how much I'm up on each stock. This one, Broadcom, 260% up right now. Give or take, slightly different to the portfolio because this platform Google thing is actually updates it slightly slower basically. Anyway, yeah, 260% up since I started investing in this company. I love the company. I wish I could buy more right now, but of course it is quite expensive. Qualcomm, again, 30 shares that I own for this company right now. I'm about 64%, which is really nice. ASML 65% up. Salesforce 20%. Wait, is that true? That cannot be true. Where is Salesforce? 12%. So where did the 20% come from? Okay, so there might be a difference between my there we go. So this is now changed because I bought more recently, so this gone up. So 181 I think it was. Let me go back. So 181 and 95p. Okay, by the way, I have to do these things manually, and that should mean about 12-13%, which is basically good. Okay, so that's about 2% of my entire portfolio, which is nice. The next couple companies, the next two is the consumer staples companies. I really love these companies. Now, Procter & Gamble up 16%, and Hershey's basically only down about 3%, which is fine. I've been buying heavily on this company. I really like the company. Next four or three in fact is the pharmaceutical companies. So J&J down about 5%, 72% up for Merck, and then 14-15% down when it comes to Medtronic. Again, I really like the companies. I'm not selling them anytime soon. I wish I could buy more Merck right now, but I'm not gonna buy it. I'm not gonna sell it. I'm gonna hold on to it. But J&J, my target is right now I've got 41 shares, so I'm gonna get to 50 shares in the next few months, inshallah. So I will be buying this weekly here and there wherever I can. Medtronic, I'm just gonna leave it alone. I'm not adding to it. Next one is Home Depot. That's the only consumer discretionary company that I have in this portfolio. I'm currently looking for consumer discretionary stocks, inshallah, that I can add to the portfolio. So just to give it a little bit more diversification, right? But as you can see, we're up about 18%, which is quite nice. Automatic data processing, and the next basically four companies is my favorite sector, and that is the industrials. So automatic data processing right now is down about 2%. Cummins is up about 24%. UPS down about 20%, and Union Pacific up about 11%. I really like these companies. I'm not selling them. UPS, the plan is to add to as much as I can, inshallah, maybe get to 55 shares and then leave it alone. UPS, Union Pacific has come down quite a bit lately, so I'm not going to add to it yet because I'm up about 11%, so I'll leave that alone. The next two companies, we have materials, and that is Air Product and Chemicals and Lint, and both of them are up about 2%, 5%. Now, Air Product and Chemicals has become a really volatile stock because it was up almost £1,000 and it has come down quite a bit lately, which is interesting. So right now it's less than £100 up. Lint is actually up about £170, 5% right now, which is not bad at all. And then we have four stocks in the finance. We've got Visa, MasterCard, we've got S&P Global, and MSCI. These four companies are genuinely one of my favorite companies out there, and when it comes to their margins, it's absolutely amazing margins. Visa is up about 24%. MasterCard is down about 5%, so I will be buying a bit more MasterCard in the next few weeks. 23% up when it comes to S&P Global. It has come down quite a bit, but I'm not going to add to it yet. And then MSCI is actually down about 5%. By the way, you can see my allocations for these companies. You can see S&P Global is over 5%. So I'm not going to sell anything. I'm going to leave it alone because 5.something% is okay. Unless it's like 7-8%, that's when it becomes a problem. But Broadcom is now gone up again to 6%. So I'm not touching it. I'm not selling it. So I'm going to leave it alone. And then the next one is the oil company. This is a new one. It's only up about 1%. And On Holdings is basically one I'm just using as a test. But it's down about 11% since I bought it. So it's interesting. I might be we'll see, we'll keep an eye on it. But the next one is the UK companies. I slightly separated them because of the dividends. The website that I use does not extract that information automatically, so I have to update this manually. So RB right now is actually down 23%, 24%. It's about £1,200 down, so I'm not worried about that. I'm gonna get to 100 shares in the next couple of weeks and leave it alone and see what happens. That dividend is basically what I'm basically holding on to this company. The reason I'm holding on to this company is the dividends, for nothing else really. There's not much of a growth. Same goes for Rio Tinto. When it comes to AstraZeneca, I really like the business. It is one of the best pharmaceutical companies out there. It's growing really fast. It's up about 10% so far. It was down so much. I bought 40 shares. I wish I bought more at the time, and I'm going to leave it alone. And finally, we got to Invesco Dow Jones Islamic ETF. And this is the one I genuinely feel I've neglected. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm not an ETF guy right now, because there are so many stocks in this portfolio that actually are paying really good dividends and so on, but at the same time appreciating, like prices going up. Like I've got companies that are up 20, 30%, 200% and so on. So I would keep an eye on ETFs. I've got another video coming up talking about ETFs, but I might have to leave this one alone and add to basically here and there wherever I get the chance. If the markets becomes really too expensive, I can't buy anymore, that's when I like to add to the ETFs. So that's what I've been doing. Every time I basically can't find anything else to buy, I just buy the ETFs. Now, inshallah, in the long run, I will be adding more ETFs. And like I've always said to you guys, I will not be able to maintain this basically portfolio forever. So sooner or later it will become more ETFs, and hopefully these ETFs will have a slightly low expense ratio and so on. So that is what I wanted to share with you guys today. I've got one more thing to show you, one more thing to tell you, and that is just the plan moving forward. And like I've always said to you guys, I'm gonna keep adding the £250 every single week. If you want to pause the video, I'm just gonna scroll up and down just so you can see the portfolio. So I'm not hiding anything from you. There's nothing new in there. It's basically what we just talked about. But yeah, so I'm gonna add £250 every single month, every single week, make 1,000, and then get to at least max my ISA account. At least the next, I've got £18,000 to 200 pounds to add in the next basically whatever months left. It's about 14% that I've added so far. So I'm going to continue doing this inshallah, and I'm going to share this with you guys, whatever I do, whether it goes up or down. Right now we are up about 11%, but inshallah I will continue sharing this with you guys. Have a wonderful day. Assalamu Alaikum.